The stories varied a lot, but one common thread was food, or lack thereof.
My grandfather was not crazy, but he was kind of aloof. In all the years we lived with them, we never had a meal with them, with either one of them. Never had a meal. One time, I remember my brother and I sat there and watched my grandfather eating a bowl of noodle soup. We were very salivating. We were salivating because we have never seen such a nice big bowl of noodle soup. I mean, we were eating very simple food like rice and so on. He didn't offer a single bite to us.
There was rationing.
I guess you know about the rationing.
We had an egg per person per month, so you can imagine a family of 4, we had 4 eggs a month.
You had ration coupons to get gasoline. We had ration coupons to get sugar. And they had little red tokens that they were for meat. And there was just a lot of things that you couldn't get.
Then there was Uncle Warren, who was a cook. He came home one Easter, and he wanted to make chocolate Easter eggs. Well, there was rationing on sugar. He used up all of the family's ration on sugar, and then they had to go to the black market. Now, my family never went to the black market, but for Uncle Warren, home on leave, they went to the black market and got sugar so he could make his chocolate Easter eggs. Interestingly enough, the person who ran the black market was the Fairfax County Sheriff. In fact, he had so many things stored in his attic that I'm told the story that his ceiling fell in his living room.
Switzerland has never been auto-sufficient for their food because they're mainly Alps, and you can't grow food in the Alps. So I still hate lentils with a total absolute passion. Don't give me lentils. Bread pudding is the most disgusting stuff there is on the world.
We had a vacant lot of a half an acre next to us. And my uncle and my dad took half of that, a quarter of an acre, and that was our garden. And we had a wonderful garden. It was great. And one half of one row was planted of cherry tomatoes. And I was told that that was my row, and I would go out in the warm sun and pick my little tomatoes, and they were delicious.
Shockingly, they would often say incredible things in the most casual of fashion.
I also remember that, yes, my parents continued helping Jewish children to get out. That there was a smuggled route which went through Switzerland and then further, I think, to Spain or no, not Spain, Portugal maybe, I don't remember exactly, and from there to America. And my parents were part of that very much. They helped a lot. One of them would have to go to such and such place and pick up a kid and then take the train and go to Lausanne. I think they normally went down to Lausanne or Geneva and dropped the kid off there, and from there it followed another thing. That's all I really remember. That I remember that they spoke about it. You know, they think the kids are asleep, you know that. Kids are asleep, they're not always asleep. Right? Right.
For such a unique and important part of history, Martine didn't even bring that up until I asked her if there was anything else she remembered. And as you can see, she regarded it as casual and almost insignificant. My grandmother seemed almost cheerful, discussing seeing the horrors of war.
When we were still in Chongqing, before we left for Shanghai. Now this was all told by me by we had a nursemaid or a lady that was assigned to my mom as a maid. So she told me the war was in full-blown stage, and the government retreated to Chongqing from Nanjing, and the Japanese will bomb Chongqing relentlessly. And I was told they will bomb when people are just ready to eat dinner, and they will start, the plane will come and drop bombs. And my nursemaid would told me that she will hold me and hid under a table and say, "Oh, please let the bomb kill me and not my precious little girl here." I did not have any memory of my father during that period. We were completely cut off when the Pearl Harbor happened. You see, my mom her purpose to go to Shanghai was to leave one of us, my brother or me, with a set of grandparents. And that didn't happen because neither set of grandparents were in a situation to take care of us. So my mom could not decide what to do with this dilemma, because my father more or less giving her the orders that only bring one child to the US. Anyway, when the Pearl Harbor broke out, we got completely cut off. My clearest memory was one time I was with my mother in a rickshaw. You know, this is a kind of a vehicle with one person running and you have passengers sitting in the back. And I remembered passing by this building that had a sentry in the front. And the sentry told the rickshaw puller, said, "Hurry, get out of here." And the rickshaw runner was just picked up his pace and ran as fast as he could. And then I heard a shot. Well, what I now know it was a shot. I just heard bang. And I turned around and saw a guy fell down. Of course, at that time, I didn't know about shooting. Remember, there were no television. I didn't know what was a shot supposed to sound like. But from my mother's expression, the rickshaw's puller's reaction, you know, I knew that guy was killed.
But they all seem to agree. Kids, no matter the circumstances, will find a way to make do with their childhoods.
Ironically, you'd think there would be some fear or anxiety or anything like that. But at that age, that was between age 3 and 7, during that period, there was no comparison. I didn't have another childhood to compare with, not knowing what a childhood should be. So all child would consider their childhood as being normal.
Even though things might have been tight to the adults, children were protected. So it was normal.
In hindsight, now, I feel sorry for you guys. Kids nowadays, you don't have fun. We played soccer on the street, and every 20 minutes or so maybe a car would come by. And it was a street like this one, you know. I was raised in a neighborhood that looks very much like this one. So, we would all jump on our bikes and just go somewhere. And we would just bike through the countryside and have fun, and then be back home at 6. Yes, we are Swiss. We look at our watches.